Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Buncee Coffee Talk. I am Rochelle, and I'm excited today to have another one of our amazing Buncee ambassadors here to learn about how Buncee is being used, just to get some new ideas and just to see what it's like, especially now when we're looking at remote or distance learning, whichever you want to refer to as. Welcome, Ide, to Buncee Coffee Talk.
Thank you, Rochelle.
And for those people that may not know you or be familiar with the different types of work that you do, could you let us know, your experience in education, what your role is?
Sure. So I live in Westerly, Rhode Island, and I teach at Westerly Middle School. I am a world language teacher. We have grades we have all four grades, 5 through 8. So I teach 5th grade world cultures, and we do exploratory French in 6th grade. So those 2 grade levels, it's just a quarter length class. And then I have an 8th grade French 1 class that's a year-long class. So basically those kids are doing the exact same curriculum as the level 1 students at our high school. So they don't per se get high school credit, but they do get credit in the sense that they move on to level 2 when they move up to be a freshman at our high school. So I have been teaching for, let me think about this, 14 years. This is my 14th year. I did 8 years in another district, and this is my 6th year at Westerly. So I love it. I love being a world language teacher. It's fun, and I get to do a lot of fun things in my classroom with my students.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love. I teach Spanish levels 1 through 4. I also teach an 8th grade STEAM emerging technology course. So I get to do all kinds of fun things in that class. But I've definitely enjoyed, especially when it comes to digital tools, having so many options for us as language teachers that we can really get our students creating. And in all of the years that you've been teaching, have you always, not going to say always, but have you used technology a lot, or have you seen that your use has increased over the past couple of years?
My use has definitely increased in the last few years. I think partly because we made some switches with our kids moving to having Chromebooks, and also just some of my own interest. I just sort of got more, I guess, brave with trying new tools and being willing to take a shot in the classroom. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And it just helped me sort of grow and develop and learn as a teacher. So I think definitely there's been a big increase. And there's just so many new, every year I learn about something new that I'm like, oh, I can use this in French. This is great. So my latest obsession is GymKit. My kids are obsessed with using that as like a formative assessment. So anytime we've done some new vocabulary, GymKit has become the latest fun tool that I've added to my list of things. But Buncee is definitely always up there as number 1 for sure.
Of course, because you can do so many things with it. And when it comes to when you decide, I know for me, like you said, there's so many different options out there, but whenever you decide on a specific tool to try, what are some things that you look for?
I guess flexibility, ease of access, and just is it a tool that I can use it in multiple ways? How is it going to benefit me and my students? So with Buncee, I can use Buncee to create lessons ahead of time, to create hyperdocs and playlists. My kids can use Buncee, to create assignments on. So it's definitely that flexibility piece and the multiple pathways, I guess, that you can use a tool is what is important to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially when you think of, sometimes we might already be using one tool and have only been using it for one purpose. But when you have one where it's I want to do a video, I want to put links into something else, or like you mentioned, hyperdocs, and we don't have a ton of time as teachers, but finding tools where there's not a huge learning curve and they're easy to get started and it provides a lot of options for everybody, I think that makes a difference, especially now. And so I have seen a lot of the ways that you are using Buncee with your students, both before we've moved to this remote and distance learning. But could you share with us some of the different ways that you're finding that it's beneficial for students and also for families?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen with you and just show you a couple of different things that I've done.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to jump around actually. Let me just go. There's a couple of different ones I want to show you. So this was something I used Buncee. Basically, we had, when this whole switch started with getting ready to switch to distance learning, they moved up our April vacation week. So our kids had a week off. It really wasn't April vacation for the teachers and administration because we spent the week planning. But that week, I basically checked in every day with my students. So I would create a Buncee, just sort of like so they could see like the human aspect of me. So this was one from the Wednesday of that week, and basically I would just create a Buncee, and it was just a little note letting them know like, okay, this is the plan. Starting on Monday, we've got 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks of distance learning, which now obviously it's more. Just letting them know like that the plan will be, most of the lessons will be pushed out on Google Classroom. And then just so that they could see like what I'm doing in my own life. So that's a picture of myself and my son, John. And I just sent this Buncee as a link within our Skyward platform, which was what we use for, it's our, district's like management system. So we use it for grading, we use it for attendance, we use it for, there's a message center component. So I can email the Buncee link to both my students and their parents. So that was a really neat thing to do. And it doesn't take that long to throw it all together, and I just sent it out every day, a different little note, and I got so many like emails back from parents and from students, thank you so much. It's nice to know like what you're doing and how your life is going, because everybody was starting to feel that disconnect. So it was just a way for me staying in connection with my kids.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a great, I mean, I love, like you said, just like that human piece, and just show like, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and being able to send some pictures, or to just the power of voice, to be able to record something for them to hear you. Yep, absolutely.
And that was one of the days. So some days I posted a picture. One of the days there was a video of me. So, I had it had a different look each day. Something else that I did, so last week I challenged my kids, my fifth graders in world cultures. We talked about how this is something, this coronavirus is impacting everybody all over the world. So I can't remember, it was Linda or Lori, I don't even remember now who, but somebody had come up with the idea of the gratitude snaps, and we had been sharing some with one another in Buncee. So I challenged my kids to do the same thing and to think about something that they're grateful for, especially with everything that's going on nowadays. So this was my example. Typically when I want them to create something in Buncee, I always give them like, this is what mine would look like if I was a student in my class. So I just uploaded this picture. This was actually the first week that we were all sort of in lockdown. My older brother, who's on the screen there in the photograph, came up with the idea of us being able to play like a family bingo game, because my parents and my siblings are all in Ireland, and even though they live sort of in a compound near one another, they're all in lockdown, and my parents are sort of like cocooning and staying away from everybody else. So we were all able to jump in a hangout together and play bingo. So we've had fun with that. Like each week we do something different. So that has been fun. So that was what my gratitude snap was, and I shared it with my kids, and I challenged them to come up with some. So I'm just going to show you this. So then they shared them with me, and then I put them together into a board. So this is some of my students' different Buncees right here. What was really cool to see is that so many of the kids wrote about how they were grateful for their family and grateful for like modern technology to be able to keep in touch with their friends and with their teachers and even with their family members. So it was neat. So this was a really, really cute assignment, and I'm glad that I did this with my fifth graders. And I'll just show you. This was a pretty funny one. So Mateo, this was cracking me up when I saw this one, the things he was grateful for, like having toilet paper. Just gave me a chuckle. So that's a way that I've used Buncee as like pushing out an assignment and having the kids share them with me. This was another one that I did the other day, both with my French classes and with my fifth grade world cultures. We talked about idioms from around the world. I challenged the kids to, so this is an example that I use, a French idiom. There were some videos that I had shared with my students for them to watch. These were specifically about like funny French idiomatic expressions. And then I had them create an idiom and create a visual to explain it. So they did a pretty good job. I also have a board of those. So let me see, here's my idioms. And these were some that, you know, my students created. So for example, il me court sur le haricot, which means he's running on my bean, which, you know, it translates to he's getting on my nerves. So those are a couple of different fun ways that I've been able to have my kids assign something, and then they share it back with me in Buncee, and then I've put them together in boards. And then I can share those boards with the kids and also with their families. So at least the families can see, you know, this is what they're doing in class. This is another one, and if you want me to stop, I'm like charging through here, so. Oh, your microphone's off.
I knew there was something. Totally fine. It's probably a good thing. No, it's great to see all the different examples and different ways that you're using it, and to see that the students obviously enjoy creating with it too. And I'm sure that they really enjoy getting your messages, especially now, to have that kind of consistent communication that's coming from you to them, and that they can also send back to you. I think it's really great to see all the different ways that you're using it.
Yep. So this is another project, and this is one that even if we were in class, in school, I typically do this towards the end of the quarter with my fifth grade world cultures kiddos. You know, we spend the quarter looking at different aspects of cultures from around the world, different products and practices and perspectives. So I have them think about all those things, and they get to create their own like micronation. So I actually have a book, a textbook that I bought a few years ago, and it's called Micronation. So I used this sort of as like the reference, and the kids get to come up with like a theme, a name, and then I give them some options in terms of how they want to put it together. When they see my example in a Buncee, most of them typically end up choosing Buncee because they can see like they've got so many options for animations and stickers and backgrounds. And basically, this is a list that, you know, my kids and I have brainstormed together. So this has sort of been one of those projects that constantly evolves each quarter, because when I introduce it to like the next quarter of kids, some kid comes up with, you know, inevitably they come up with some other topic that we add to this list. So it's definitely like there's a lot of cooperative work between myself and the kids in just even creating this project. So they get to choose whichever 10 of the topics that they want to include in their micronation. And I just have them do a very short explanation, like, you know, tell me about it, and then like add some relevant images or videos. So like I had said earlier, I typically always let my kids see like, this is an example of what it should look like. So it's totally bizarre, and my kids always come up with totally bizarre ones also. So this was just this random micronation that I created. This Queen Cool Beans, this is a joke that like happened like 4 years ago with some students who thought my name was Cool Beans, not Koulbanis. So a bunch of the kids, it's just kind of stuck with them. So they got a big chuckle out of that when they saw that. And I just gave them, you know, and I show them each page, and I say, okay, so like here's my page about my micronation's flag, and it's just a very brief background, a very brief explanation, and then they can see the image. So I show them a few different examples just to sort of get them on their way. So it always inevitably ends up being like a pretty fun project. The kids always have a good time like sharing them with one another. So that's something that I'm going to be able to work on with my kids through distance learning, which, you know, it's perfect. So.
Yeah, definitely. And all of the, I love the one that you had different topics and everything on it, which is another nice thing too with Buncee's, is that, like, if you did a greeting for each week, for me, I made one, here's an overview, I recorded a short video, and if I want, I mean, I can just use that one same Buncee and just change that video, keep those same links, and give them a new message every week, which it's nice that you don't have to worry about finding all of these different resources and links and everything else. But there are so many awesome topics in there, and that just so much that you can do with it, which is nice to see too.
Yep. And like I said, a lot of these, it was, the kids generated a lot of these different ideas. So it was pretty neat to see.
Yeah, and they can definitely find enough, stickers and animations and 3D objects with all of those topics, which is another, it's fun to explore when you type in the word and you see all different choices, with all of the new things that are added all the time too.
Right. I actually, I just collaborated with one of the 5th grade ELA teachers in my building last week, because she just finished the book Esperanza Rising with her kids, and she wanted to come up with something that she could have as like an end of unit assignment, because now, with distance learning, her plans have changed. So I suggested to her to do, like sort of like a book review. So she came up with the criteria, and then I had set my lessons up so that my own classes could work independently last Monday, and I jumped in on her class Google Meets and was able to just share my screen and do a quick run through with her kids, because most of them I've already seen between the first 3 quarters, but the quarter 4 kids who haven't seen me yet would not have yet been introduced to Buncee, because not many of the staff members are using it. So it was pretty neat, because I gave them like a very quick tutorial, and then they had like a team time built into their day on Tuesday. So I was able to jump on and be there for the kids and like answer any questions that they had. But they were so cute, because some of them were like, yeah, I was trying to find a rose, because a rose is important in the story. And they were so excited when they searched for rose, and there was like animation options, and there was all these different options. And I gave them some ideas, like, okay, there's this really cool like sticker, and it's got a rose, and it looks like it's like it could be a label. So I said, all right, now you can put a text box on top of that, and now you've got the rose like on your screen, and you could write something. So it's just neat to to see that like excitement like live on the screen with the kids. So it was cool.
Yeah, and one question I was going to ask you too is, with the students now, like for us as teachers, I mean, they can create presentations. Do your students feel comfortable like recording themselves with the video when they share, or have your students done that?
So the 5th graders are definitely comfortable with that. I've noticed though, typically my 6th and 8th graders do not like to record themselves on the screen. And I think it's just like an age thing. I usually, with all of my French students, I usually, when I teach them the alphabet, I have them create a video on Buncee recording themselves saying the alphabet. And I always give them the option, if you don't want your face to be on the screen, you can put a prop in front of it. You can, turn your screen the other way. And a lot of the kids, they don't like it. And I've even, my 10-year-old, I've noticed with him, he does not like being on screen, like in the Google Meet classes. I think it's just like that awkward phase that they're in.
Yeah,
some kids are super excited and they like totally like hog the limelight, but then you've got those other ones, like my son, like he's a quiet, shy student. That's not really for him. He's not enjoying that piece.
Yeah, I find it interesting too. A lot of times with my students, I mean, for years I wanted them to, speak in Spanish, or when I was teaching French years ago, and present in front of their classmates or do dialogues in the classroom. And a lot of them, didn't want to. They didn't want to stand up in front of the room. And I'm like, come on, you're in front of these people all of the time. But yet I myself didn't necessarily like to do that in front of my own peers. So I finally understood. But what I've seen is with tools like this, where some students, at the beginning of the year in Spanish 1, that they'll talk about, about me and just basic information. and they don't want to do that in front of the classroom. But when they've used the video and recorded within Buncee, they're totally fine with it playing. And I think for a lot of students, it definitely helps to build confidence for them and that comfort too. Once they get over that initial, like, oh, I don't want to be on the video.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I think if you sort of like set the ground frame, like right from the beginning of the year, you know, it's all about like that culture in your class. So yeah.
And one other thing too about, you know, people right now are looking at, you know, recording, especially in elementary school. I'm not an elementary teacher, but reading for their students. And so I know like Barbie had done where she was reading the book, or you can even have students make their own project and read. But I was thinking, because I thought I heard potentially that you might do something about a concert, maybe. Was there some talk about a concert that was supposed to happen? And
Opera,
maybe,
yes. So usually we have a tenor. His name is Cheney. He usually comes and does like an in-house field trip every year where he comes and he performs for the kids. And he obviously can't come this year. We had been in touch 2 weeks ago, and he basically told me how like all of his engagements for 2020 have been canceled, which, you know, for somebody like that, like that's his livelihood. I feel terrible. And we were just chit-chatting back and forth, and he offered to come and jump in on our Google Meet. So on Monday, he sang for my 8th graders. I didn't record it because I haven't been recording the meets, like the live meets with the kids, but just watching their faces on the screens, like seeing him. So, you know, he's chit-chatting with them and he's totally laid back and easygoing. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to sing an aria now in French. And he like stepped back a little bit, and you see like he goes from like, you know, just regular old Brian to now Brian, like the tenor. And he opened his mouth to sing, and the kids' faces on the screens, they were like, so it was so amazing. And actually, that was another board I had my kids create. Was we wrote thank you cards to him, which some kids still need to finish them, so I haven't shared the board with him yet. But I just want to show you, these were some of the thank yous. Where's Lila? So this girl, Lila, is a phenomenal student. She's an amazing musician herself. She loves to sing, but this was her thank you to Brian. And it was just so neat because, you know, it's like all this uncertainty and you don't know what these kids are going through at home, but just seeing their smiles on their faces, like on the video on Google Meet, it was phenomenal. So their thank you notes were really sweet to, you know, to read them, and even their chat with him, like while he was performing, like some of the kids were like, oh my god, this is insane, you know, this is crazy, it's so good. So it was cool.
yeah, that sounds like an awesome experience. And it made me think too that, you know, in terms of, you know, the timing and everything, like it would also be pretty cool, since you can upload YouTube links into your Buncee, if somebody were just not available during that time that you were having the class meeting, but if they could record a video and share with you, and then you can upload that and be like, oh, well, this is a surprise, because it could be personalized where they greet your students or whatever. That could be fun too.
He actually did that the Friday, so last Thursday, I had told the kids, like he and I had decided we were going to keep this a surprise for the kids. So I had told them on Thursday, you know, please make sure you come to class on time. I want to explain some things to you. So I had this Buncee up on the screen, and I was like, listen, you know, with everything going on, Brian's not going to be able to come and perform for you this year. And I had reached out to him ahead of time, and he recorded a video of himself. So there's a video in here. This was Brian saying hi to the kids. I won't play it now, but he just recorded like a quick 50-second video just saying like, hi guys, I'm sorry I can't make it, you know, I hope you're doing well, make sure you're doing your work. And then I had additional information in the Buncee just explaining about him, like showing them his website. There was a link that I showed them. And this, you know, I do all of this, like I'm screen sharing with them, so they're knowing what to do. This was the aria that he usually performs, so I had put this video in there. And then this was a really funny one that I found on Facebook. It's the soprano aria from Carmen. And then I had also included this video. I had seen him perform in concert a couple of years ago. So he also sings musical theater. So I shared this with the kids prior to him coming on Monday. So they had seen this video thinking like, okay, we're not going to have Saltmarsh Opera. So then when we had it on Monday, it just made the surprise even more sweet.
That's really awesome. I bet. Geez,
Yeah.
what like such a tremendous learning opportunity for everybody. I mean, just to make connections too. So, wow, those are some seriously really cool things that you're doing with your students, and definitely things that we can apply regardless of if we teach, languages or anything. I mean, we're creative as educators. We can just kind of make a little bit of a tweak to it and make it our own. But thank you so much for sharing all of that today. And if anybody wanted to follow up with you and had questions, what is the best way to connect with you?
They can email me. It's Ide Koulbanis, IKOULBANIS at westerly.k12.ri.us, or on Twitter, it's just at and my last name Koulbanis, at Koulbanis.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining in on Coffee Talk, and have a great rest of your day. And we'll see everybody next time.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.